What if I told you that one of the most powerful families in the world just revealed a secret so devastating? It left two of its most famous members trembling in disbelief. Picture the gilded halls of Clarence House in London. King Charles, standing tall yet visibly burdened, finally opens a sealed envelope that had been hidden away since the passing of the late Queen Elizabeth II. Inside, the Queen's last will and testament. A document not just about money, jewels, or estates, but about legacy, loyalty, and the future of the monarchy itself. Now, here's the bombshell. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, once celebrated royals, once cherished members of the Queen's beloved firm, were completely cut out. No inheritance, no treasured heirlooms, no properties, not even a symbolic token of remembrance. Why? Because, as the Queen's words chillingly put it, they had chosen a different path. But before we continue, please subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell for more updates. This wasn't just about money. This was about rejection, about consequences, about the line between duty and defiance. And for Harry and Meghan, who had banked much of their identity on their royal connections, this moment was nothing short of catastrophic. But how did we get here? Why would the Queen, known for her measured grace and unshakable love of family, make such a final, brutal statement? And more importantly, what does this mean for the already fragile relationship between Harry, Meghan, and the rest of the royal family? Let's peel back the layers of this story, uncover the secrets behind the Queen's will, and explore how this moment might reshape the monarchy forever. The Queen's last will, more than just a document. When most people hear the words last will and testament, they imagine cold legal jargon, lists of possessions, and tidy instructions for dividing assets. But in the world of royalty, a will is far more than paperwork. It is a symbolic blueprint of values, legacy, and loyalty. For Queen Elizabeth II, who reigned for over 70 years, her will was not just about distributing her immense fortune. It was about passing down centuries of tradition, family treasures that carried the weight of history, and heirlooms that linked monarchs across generations. The Queen's personal estate, including Balmoral Castle in Scotland and Sandringham House, alongside priceless jewelry and art collections, represented not just wealth, but identity. Each item was carefully considered. Every allocation was deliberate. Nothing was accidental. And yet, when King Charles finally read the words, one thing became painfully clear. Harry and Meghan had no place in this legacy. Why would the Queen take such a drastic step? The answer lies in the years of tension that built up following Harry and Meghan's infamous Megxit. From royal darlings to outcasts, the road to exclusion. Let's rewind. When Prince Harry introduced Meghan Markle to the world, it seemed like a fairy tale come true. An American actress marrying into the most famous royal family on earth. What could be more magical? At first, the late Queen welcomed Meghan warmly. There were smiles on the balcony, laughter at official events, and even reports that the Queen admired Meghan's independence. But as months turned into years, cracks began to form. The couple's explosive decision in 2020 to step back from royal duties, dubbed Megxit, was the tipping point. While they described it as a move for independence, the palace saw it as desertion. Worse still, their subsequent interviews, particularly the infamous Oprah Winfrey special, painted the royal family in a damning light. Accusations of racism, coldness, and neglect reverberated across the globe. For the Queen, who had spent her life upholding the dignity of the monarchy, this was betrayal. And betrayal has consequences. By the time Harry and Meghan moved to California, signing multimillion-dollar deals with Netflix and Spotify, the Queen's perspective had shifted. In her eyes, they had chosen celebrity over duty, Hollywood over heritage. And that choice would echo in her final will. The emotional fallout at Clarence House. Imagine the scene, Clarence House, London. King Charles seated at a polished wooden table. The Queen's will spread before him. Around him, courtiers and advisors maintain their stiff silence. But the words are deafening. Harry and Meghan excluded. For Charles, this moment must have been excruciating. He is a father, after all. He has long harbored hopes of reconciliation with his younger son. The Queen's decision was final, but it was Charles who had to deliver the news. When Harry and Meghan reunited with Charles at Clarence House, insiders say the atmosphere was icy. Harry's face reportedly flushed with disbelief. Meghan, typically poised, looked down, visibly shaken. It wasn't just about money, it was about being erased from the family legacy. Think about that for a second. No memento from the Queen, no passing down of jewelry to Meghan, no property to secure Archie and Lilibet's future in Britain. The message was loud and clear: you are no longer part of this story. And here's the kicker. While Harry and Meghan trembled, the rest of the family felt relief. Why the will matters for the future of the monarchy. It's easy to dismiss this as just another royal scandal. But make no mistake, the Queen's will is a defining moment in the history of the monarchy. By cutting Harry and Meghan out, the Queen sent a powerful signal. Loyalty to the crown is not optional. You cannot criticize the institution, profit off its name, and still expect to benefit from its treasures. This sets a precedent. Future royals will know that the privileges of the monarchy come with responsibilities. Step out of line and the consequences could be permanent. For King Charles, the will also strengthens his hand. By honoring his mother's decision, he reasserts stability at a time when the monarchy is under unprecedented scrutiny. And for Prince William, it clears the path to a streamlined future where the focus remains on those who uphold royal duty, not those who abandon it. But where does this leave Harry and Meghan? And can their relationship with the monarchy ever be repaired after such a devastating blow? Harry and Meghan's emotional response. Trembling at the truth. The moment King Charles laid the Queen's will on the polished mahogany table, the air thickened with a tension no one dared to break. For Harry and Meghan, the reality hit like a tidal wave. They were not simply overlooked, they had been deliberately and explicitly excluded. The Queen's final words, etched in legal permanence, carried a message sharper than any sword. They chose a different path. Harry, who had once been the Queen's beloved grandson, the cheeky, red-headed boy who lit up royal tours with his mischievous charm, suddenly felt like an outsider in the very family he was born into. His jaw clenched, his fists curled, and according to whispers from insiders, his face reddened as if he were holding back an eruption of rage and humiliation. Meghan, ever the actress who prided herself on composure, couldn't mask her devastation. Her eyes lowered, her lips tightened, and she reportedly whispered to Harry under her breath, "She really left us nothing?" It wasn't the absence of money that stung. It was the finality of the Queen's verdict, the symbolic exile from a family whose power and history stretched back over 1,000 years. A clash of worlds. For Harry, the will was not just a legal document. It was a reminder of the price he had paid for love. He had abandoned his military honors, his royal patronages, and his role as a working royal. He had traded centuries of tradition for freedom in California. But in that moment, it seemed the freedom he sought had come at an unimaginable cost. The loss of his grandmother's approval, even in death. For Meghan, it was confirmation of her deepest fear, that she would never be accepted by the institution, no matter what she did. She had spoken openly about feeling unwelcome, misunderstood, and unfairly targeted by the royal machine. But now, with the Queen's will excluding her and Harry entirely, that rejection was carved into history. Was it vindication for the royal establishment, or vindictiveness disguised as tradition? Behind closed doors, heated words at Clarence House. The reunion at Clarence House, meant to be a moment of fragile reconciliation, instead spiraled into tension. Sources close to the royal household suggest that Harry demanded an explanation. "How could she do this to me? To us?" he reportedly asked Charles, his voice breaking between anger and despair. Charles, visibly torn, tried to remain diplomatic. He reminded Harry that this was not his decision. It was the Queen's will, and he was merely honoring it. But for Harry, that explanation rang hollow. To him, his father's refusal to intervene felt like betrayal piled upon betrayal. Meghan, meanwhile, allegedly pressed the issue further. She questioned how the monarchy could claim to uphold values of family and unity while erasing her children, Archie and Lilibet, from their grandmother's legacy. Her words reportedly hung in the air, a piercing echo of the accusations she and Harry had leveled in the past. The conversation grew heated. Voices rose. Some present at Clarence's house whispered that the confrontation bordered on explosive before courtiers stepped in to defuse the situation. But the damage was already done. The Queen's will had not just cut Harry and Meghan off financially. It had reopened every old wound, every unresolved conflict, and every painful memory of their exit from the royal fold. The symbolism of nothing. In any other family, being left out of a will might sting, but it wouldn't necessarily carry monumental implications. But this was not just any family. This was the royal family. To receive nothing, no heirlooms, no jewels, no mementos, was more than financial exclusion. It was symbolic exile. Royals are often remembered through the objects passed down to them. Brooches, tiaras, portraits, estates, even handwritten letters. These items don't just hold material value. They carry emotional significance, binding generations together. For example, Princess Diana's sapphire engagement ring was passed to Prince William, who gave it to Catherine as a symbol of continuity. The Queen Mother's jewels were distributed among her granddaughters as a mark of affection. These tokens carry stories, love, and history. By leaving Harry and Meghan nothing, the Queen was not simply reallocating assets. She was making a statement. You no longer belong to this story. And perhaps the most painful part? That story will be retold for centuries. Historians, biographers, and royal enthusiasts will all revisit this moment as the definitive sign of the Queen's disapproval. Public reaction. Sympathy or scorn? When news of the Queen's will broke, the world erupted. Social media lit up with divided opinions. Some sympathized with Harry and Meghan, arguing that the Queen had been unnecessarily harsh. Family is family, one comment read. No matter what they did, they're still her grandchildren. Others, however, praised the Queen's firmness, viewing it as a long-overdue act of accountability. Actions have consequences, wrote one royal watcher. You can't trash the institution and expect rewards. The debate grew so fierce that it overshadowed other royal news. Television pundits dissected the Queen's language. Tabloids speculated on the emotional fallout. Even late-night comedians couldn't resist poking fun at the drama, joking about Harry and Meghan's Netflix deal being their real inheritance. But beneath the noise, one question lingered. Did the Queen's decision mark the end of reconciliation, or could it paradoxically push Harry and Meghan closer to the family they had so publicly rejected? Meghan's dilemma. Reinvention or retreat? For Meghan, the exclusion posed both a challenge and an opportunity. On one hand, it confirmed the narrative that she was never accepted by the monarchy. On the other, it gave her a chance to redefine herself entirely outside the shadow of the crown. In California, Meghan has built a life centered on media ventures, philanthropy, and public speaking. But the constant criticism that she only married into the royal family for status has haunted her. By being cut out of the Queen's will, she can now argue that she has no material ties to the monarchy, only the ties of love, marriage, and motherhood. The question is, will the public buy that narrative? Or will they see the exclusion as proof that Meghan's relationship with the royals was fractured beyond repair? And here's where it gets even trickier. Without royal heirlooms or properties, Meghan's children, Archie and Lilibet, lose not just material assets but also tangible connections to their royal heritage. What does that mean for their future? Harry's inner turmoil. A son torn in two. Harry's situation is even more complex. Unlike Meghan, who married into the family, Harry was born into it. Every castle, every crown jewel, every palace portrait is part of his DNA. To be cut out of the Queen's will is to be told, in no uncertain terms, that his choices have severed his place in history. For Harry, this raises existential questions. Is he still a prince in spirit or just in title? Is his identity rooted in being Diana's son, Charles's heir, and the Queen's grandson? Or has he now become something else entirely? a celebrity detached from monarchy? Insiders suggest Harry has wrestled with this privately for years, but the Queen's will crystallize the conflict. He is no longer the boy walking behind Diana's coffin.